Namaskar and welcome to Diplomatic Dispatch, the show that brings you the best analysis of latest developments on the international front. I'm your host, Vikas Swarup. In today's episode, we will focus on a global technology commons that has the ability to address some of the world's toughest challenges, the potential to unlock significant progress in the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, and where India has much to contribute. I'm talking about India's leadership in digital public goods. Digital public goods are open source software, open data, open artificial intelligence models, open standards, and open content that are designed to enhance the ease, transparency, and speed with which individuals, markets, and governments interact with each other. By design, their open format can be freely adopted and adapted, thereby providing countries the ability to improve the lives and livelihoods of their citizens on a mass scale at a very low cost. India has been a pioneer in the field of digital public goods. It all began in 2009 with Aadhaar, the unique 12-digit identifier for every Indian resident linked to demographic, residential, and biometric data, which has become the world's largest digital identity program with 1.36 billion enrollments as of now. On the heels of Aadhaar arrived eKYC in 2012, allowing banks to perform Know Your Customer verification digitally using biometrics or the mobile OTP linked to the Aadhaar. In 2014, the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana launched a platform for universal access to banking built on the unique identification system that Aadhaar made possible. It has provided more than 479 million Indians with a digitally accessible bank account, becoming the largest financial inclusion initiative in the world. Another breakthrough was the launch of Unified Payments Interface. With UPI, for the first time in the world, money could be sent in a few steps on the mobile phone from one bank account to another in under 6 seconds. Starting with 21 banks in 2016, the UPI ecosystem has today expanded to 381 banks, and the total number of transactions in 2022 alone crossed 125 trillion rupees. CoFounder is India's digital technology platform for COVID-19 vaccination, through which more than 2.20 billion vaccine doses have already been administered. These digital public goods now extend virtually to all important sectors of citizen engagement. In the field of health, apart from CoFounder, there is Arogya Setu and eSanjeevani, the national telemedicine service. In education, there is Swayam, which seeks to bridge the digital divide and provide disadvantaged students access, equity, and quality. And Diksha, which is the national teachers platform. In travel and transportation, we have the Passport Seva project, FASTag, and Parivahan Seva. In procurement, there is Government e-Marketplace. These digital public goods are transforming the way we make payments, open a bank account, get a vaccine, obtain a passport and driving license, check land records, and withdraw a provident fund, to name just a few activities. The economically disadvantaged now have direct access to the public distribution system, and beneficiaries of government schemes have money transferred directly into their bank accounts without the involvement of middlemen. India's digital infrastructure has not only changed how Indians live and operate, but it has also caught the fancy of other countries around the world. As many as 7 countries will soon sign agreements to use India Stack's digital public goods. Countries like France, UK, UAE, Nepal, Malaysia, Singapore, Oman, and Bhutan have already signed up to adopt the UPI framework. 6 countries, including Morocco, the Philippines, Guinea, and Ethiopia, are implementing a citizen identity system similar to India's Aadhaar. Therefore, India's G20 presidency offers the perfect opportunity to universalize India's unique digital public goods and make a tangible contribution to the global south. To learn more about this fascinating and rapidly progressing field, I am joined by 2 outstanding experts. Mr. Abhishek Singh is an IAS officer who wears multiple hats. He is President and CEO, National E-Governance Division of the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Managing Director and CEO of Digital India Corporation, and CEO of Karma Yogi Bharat. Mr. Arvind Gupta is head and co-founder of Digital India Foundation, a policy think tank. He has worked in diverse sectors in a variety of leadership, policy, and entrepreneurial roles in India and Silicon Valley. A top 100 influencer in the field of financial technologies, he is also a founder member of iSpirit, the Indian Software Product Industry Roundtable. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. Let me start with you, Mr. Gupta. Now, most of the major digital technologies or platforms that we see today are controlled by big tech companies from the West. How is India's digital architecture different from what we see in the West?
So, thank you for having me, Mr. Swarup, on this show. I'm delighted to talk because technology now is not contained in for the geeks or the nerds. It's now becoming a diplomatic, a geopolitical conversation. So, thank you for bringing this conversation into your diplomatic dispatch. How is India's digital architecture very different? It's a very pertinent question because our architecture is very different because it's first of all bottom up. It solves for the bottom of the pyramid, which no technology, whether it emanates from the West or from our north, which does not operate in India any longer, but actually does. They assume that you have a smartphone, internet connection, and then it starts coming down from the top of the society to the middle class, to the aspirational class, and to the bottom of the pyramid, if at all they reach there. Indian technology design is by reverse. It's bottom up. So it solves for the bottom of the pyramid, which is always the biggest, if you know. In India, we have more than 190 million families, or almost 200 million families, which are just either bottom of the pyramid or just above the poverty line. To solve for them is the thing that India digital goods have been designed for. And when you can solve for this population, which represents almost 800 to 850 million people, you can solve for anybody else. So that is the basic difference in the architecture for your viewers to understand.
So we use data for development, unlike the West, which use data for profit.
Absolutely. That's very well put. Yes.
Mr. Singh, what have been the main success drivers for digital public platforms in India reaching speed, scope, and scale in such a short time?
See, the key drivers for adoption of digital public goods in India primarily has been that we have always thought of designing for scale, because as we know that we are 1.2 billion people, and if we have to deliver anything, it has to be designed, the way we have to architect it has to ensure that it meets the requirements of everyone. The second key thing has been that to design it at a low cost, like we cannot have a system that's very expensive to do that. So that has been one key initiative. The third key aspect of all our digital public goods is that it has been designed with a mobile first and a privacy first strategy. Because more than 90% people in India access internet through mobile phones. So that ensures that it becomes available and accessible to everyone. And another point which I would like to mention, which has been the key feature of almost all our digital public goods, has been that the issue of digital inclusion has been factored in right from the beginning. So, for example, when the Digital India projects, when we started automating how people can get birth certificates or driving licenses or ration cards or passports, we immediately knew that there will be a lot of people who will not have access to a smartphone or to internet, or they might just not know how to navigate a website or a portal or an app. So, for that, the common service centers were set up in the form of assisted access. We began with a network of 100,000 common service centers. Today, we have 500,000 common service centers which offer services in an assisted mode. These are run by village level entrepreneurs, wherein people can go and access services as a service. And the other thing that's there is that almost all our services are available in various Indian languages, because we are a diverse country. Like if we have to ensure that digital services are adopted, it has to be available in the language which people understand. So almost all our services, whether it's Umang, whether it's DigiLocker, they are available in all 23 Indian languages. And now we are going a step forward, and we are trying to ensure that these services are made available with a voice interface also. So that would really kind of democratize the way we are implementing digital public goods and ensure that each and every Indian living in any part of India is able to access online services. So these all have been contributed together for a larger adoption of e-services across the country.
Now, Mr. Gupta, India's stack is said to be the backbone of India's digital infrastructure. What exactly is India's stack? How does it work?
So when India set out, and I say India set out to solve some of the biggest challenges that we're facing, challenges in governance, in benefits, in financial inclusion, in agriculture, in education, what we realized is that we had and India is a large country, very, very diverse country. We had a set of identities which were not matching. We had a set of people in India who didn't have any identity. We had a set of people in India who, didn't have bank accounts. So to solve for these hard problems of India, we brought around bunch of technologies and linked them using identity as a common theme, using mobile number as a common theme, and that we call as a giant trinity. And we started solving one problem by one problem. So we solved the problem of giving bank accounts to every Indian. We solved the problem of giving benefits transfer to every Indian who is eligible and in a targeted manner. And then we solved the problem of making data as the lowest cost of data in the world. And it's today, I'm happy to tell you, today in the last 7 to 8 years, India has become the data capital of the world with the highest diversity of data, but also with the lowest cost of data, the content and the bandwidth. From 150 plus in the list of costly data, we are now the lowest cost, that is number 1 in the list of lowest cost of data in the world. So what it has done is multiple things. Our approach was build digital public goods, interoperable, connected to each other, make them open and with trust. Now what does it mean, open? Open means it solves for 4 sections of the society, and that's another thing: government, businesses, society and startups. And that is a very unique approach. If you go back to the first answer I gave about big tech creates value for themselves. India's approach is solve for the bottom of the society, but the value creation can happen outside. You will be happy to note that one of our part of India's stack, the payments layer, the UPI layer, not only does 8 billion transactions a month, but also is front-ended by Meta, by Google, by Amazon. So whosoever is the global big tech is actually riding on top of our technology.
Now, Mr. Singh, the Open Network for Digital Commerce, ONDC, will allow startups to directly connect with customers, thus providing access and equity to small and medium-sized merchants. Do you think it can be a game changer for e-commerce, just as UPI was a game changer for the payments ecosystem?
I fully agree with this, because ONDC, the way it has been designed, the way it has been architected, what it's doing, it is democratizing access to e-commerce. It ensures inclusivity, it ensures discoverability, and it ensures interoperability. In simple terms, if I have to say it, what it does is that it kind of shortens the journey for a buyer or a seller to get onboarded onto an e-commerce platform, because so far what we've seen is that e-commerce has been dominated by a few big players. And when these big players, they set up their terms and conditions, if you are a seller on these platforms, whether you are selling garments or whether you are selling food or whatever items, they kind of really squeeze you out. So the commissions that they take is much more. So this platform, the way it gives you a choice, if you are a seller, you can onboard on that, and you can tie up with a logistics provider, a payment provider, and it gives you a greater choice on adopting to e-commerce. So this gives a lot of benefit to our e-commerce players, and ensure the citizens also benefit in the long run. So over a period of time, it's a little bit more complex than the UPI, but the design wise and architecture wise, it's similar to that. And in the next few years, what I feel is that it will totally transform the way the e-commerce is done.
Now you mentioned the business aspect. Now NASSCOM estimates that open digital ecosystems can unlock opportunities worth $700 billion for India by 2030. Which are the sectors you think which are most likely to benefit from this?
Vikas, if I may, you see, data is that big engine for the new revolution that is happening, what is called the AI/machine learning revolution. Data is a core input for that. Unfortunately, when you don't have control on your core platforms, you basically end up giving data in exchange, that free product in exchange for your data to those platforms. India has changed all of that. We believe that this data should be used for our development, for giving better credit. So we have enabled this data to be shared in a secure, transparent and consent-based manner to other startups. So if I am a consumer, I want better loans, better credit loans, better credit cards, better educational loans, I can share, or housing loans, I can share my data. If I'm a trader, I can get working capital loans. So there is this whole credit market is completely going to get disrupted by the AI, ML, data driven credit. Agriculture. healthcare, education. But the bigger thing is these are the 4 or 5 big areas that we can then really reach to the last mile using technology and data. And India Stack, the open data revolution, which is then powered by our startups and our tech innovators, really enables that. And these are just 4 or 5 sectors that I am foreseeing. There could be many more in the future. Personalized education, I talked about, personalized healthcare, credit, agriculture needs a lot of disruption. So the common theme as we go forward is going to be machine learning, AI, enabled by data, which then we have in our control in a better manner.
Among the Indian products that is most in demand by foreign countries is DigiLocker. What exactly is DigiLocker? What does it do?
So DigiLocker is a very simple design. It's like a document wallet. It allows you to access your own documents. It allows you to give your consent for any third party to access those documents, and also allows for verifying of those digital credentials. So we all know that for every service that we take from the government, we get a public document, whether it's a certificate or whether it's a Aadhaar card or income tax card or insurance documents or academic credentials or health records. So all these documents can be pushed to the DigiLocker by the issuers electronically, so that the citizen to whom these documents belong, he has access to these documents, and he can also give consent to a third party to verify these consents. So a very simple example I will give you is that, like academic certificates, we have like almost out of the total 5.62 billion documents which are there on the DigiLocker, almost 4.2 billions are academic certificates. So a lot of academic certificates are there. So like if last year Karnataka police was doing their recruitment for constables, and they required to verify the class 10th, class 12th marks for ensuring that whether they are meeting the minimum eligibility criteria or not. Typically this verification used to happen in a manual mode, sending it to the respective boards and the schools. It used to take more than 6 to 9 months. With the DigiLocker interface, this verification happened on the fly, and the recruitment cycle came down from 6 months to 2 months. Similarly, health records. If I have my health records, say from Safdarjung Hospital, my X-ray document, my X-ray reports, my CT scan from Medanta, and if I suppose want to get a second opinion from AIIMS, then I can give my consent to allow my health documents to be shared to a third party. So that kind of really enables digital access to documents, verifiability, and also kind of in reducing the hardship of the citizen in trying to push his certificates to multiple government authorities.
Mr. Gupta, what are some of the challenges facing digital public goods, and how do we strike the right balance between protection, innovation and development?
So I think, as we have been discussing on the show, the biggest challenge that that digital public goods face is, number one, is vested interest, by the way. I think my colleague Abhishek mentioned that in his comments, and the fact that there has to be a realization that this goes out to serve the bottom of the pyramid. It serves the sustainable goals that we have set, and it is good for societal development. And it's very different from, as we are discussing, from any other model that the world has presented so far in digital technologies, which is either a technology for surveillance or data for surveillance or data for profit. This is data for development, and that's been a G20 theme also. So I think the other challenge it faces is now that, within geopolitics, trust is becoming a very good element. So whether the world will use technology coming from trusted partners, and that trust has to be translated into partnerships and promoting of digital public goods. So vested interest, mindset, and co-developing, co-creating with trusted partners will be the big challenges that DPGs face globally.
Now, Mr. Gupta mentioned the Sustainable Development Goals, and the UNDP has actually said that open access digital public goods can help achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. So can you give us some practical examples how India is using this for the SDGs?
See, like if you look at the Sustainable Development Goals, so whether it's like poverty elimination, no poverty, ensuring access to healthcare, prevention of hunger, then access to education. So almost all the key sustainable development goals are being addressed by one or other of the digital public goods that we have implemented in India. For example, if you look at the direct benefit transfers, the Aadhaar enabled direct benefit transfers, which ensured that the subsidy meant for the person for whom it is designed reaches directly in his bank account without any delay. And that really has helped us address the poverty issue in many ways. Like if there's the PM Kisan subsidy, if the 6,000 rupees or the 2,000 rupees installment is to go, it reaches instantly in the bank account of the person. Similarly, if you look at food, the One Nation, One Ration Card issue and the ration card portability scheme allows a migrant laborer from Bihar to access the rations in Punjab or Maharashtra if he goes for wage labor, and his family gets access to the rations where they are staying. So it has a direct correlation with addressing the hunger issue. Then with solutions like e-Sanjeevani you mentioned with the telemedicine solution, it's allowing access to healthcare. The vaccination certificates, the tracking vaccination for COVID-19, of course, we did the CoWIN with which 2.2 billion doses have been given, but now it has become the universal vaccination platform. So we can even track the BCG, the DPT, the polio, the measles, rubella, all these vaccines can be tracked. Education, you spoke about Diksha and the Swayam. Millions of students are accessing online content on the Diksha platform from K to 12, and the content that is there on K to 12 on Diksha is better than any other edtech platform. So all these projects are really empowering the people at the last mile. The financial inclusion, like for example, bank accounts, you mentioned that more than 450 million people in India got bank accounts after the Aadhaar was introduced, and today we have the banking coverage of more than 90%. So this has ensured that people are able to access banking, access insurance, access credit, and directly benefit from their livelihoods. So all the, I can go on and on, but almost all the digital public goods directly correlate to addressing one or the other of SDGs. And when people are empowered, the other issues of SDGs also get addressed.
Mr. Gupta, can these made in India, low cost and scalable digital public goods offer developing countries an alternative to the super expensive brick and mortar led Belt and Road Initiative of China?
So two comments, Vikas. Number one is we have what Abhishek just said. We have to also understand that the 460 million odd Jan Dhan accounts that banked the unbanked today meet a SDG goal because they not only are banked now, but they are also saving more than $30 billion. So there's a savings potential that we are arriving. Now that translates into the next thing. Is this the need for the world? Yes, this is the need for the world. This is a need where we are giving soft infrastructure, non-predatory, where there is no strings attached.
Don't get trapped.
Don't get trapped, and that's what I said. No strings attached, and there is no it's a co-creation. We are saying you take this from us as a global common good and create it, which is important for you. So that brings about the trust also. That brings about public scrutiny. The great example is not only did India give vaccine to more than 92 countries, we have given our vaccine platform that delivered and administered the vaccine and our certificate, which comes on a WhatsApp today, to more than 27 countries. We have shared the CoWIN platform, not as something that we control the back end to, but as something which is shared in an open source format. They can customize to their language needs, their localization needs. Two, I think countries are now getting very, very cognizant how to use the revenue that they're collecting better. So this whole, apart from this digital public goods, what it has achieved doing in India is to make that $100, reach the $100 to the poor. That is making that revenue 6 times more effective. Every political economy leader in the world wants that to happen, and that's a very important thing. That's giving them actual power, actual empowerment to the last mile, and I think that's much more powerful than any BRI or any other initiative or giving them just money. And I think this approach of trust that they have with now our global leadership, our leadership, and the place that India has from a geopolitical perspective plays an equally important role in that.
Mr. Singh, now Prime Minister Modi said at the concluding leader session of the Voice of the Global South Summit that the digital public goods developed by India in fields like electronic payments, health, education or e-governance can be useful for many other developing countries and that India would be happy to share them. How does India intend to implement this in practice during its G20 presidency?
See, like as our Honorable Prime Minister has always mentioned that anything that we have done in the digital public infrastructure space, the solutions that we have developed for access to banking, as Arvind was mentioning, or healthcare, these are global public digital goods, and India has always volunteered to offer it to the digital repository, which can be used by any country. So in that lines, what we have done is that we have set up a mechanism with which other countries can, number one, learn about what India has done, see what products are there, compare it with what they have, and then identify which are the products that they want to learn. So towards this objective, in July of the last year, our Prime Minister launched a portal called indiastack.global. And this portal lists most of the key digital public goods that India has built. And it also connects the people who are interested in with the relevant project owners, has a lot of material about it, those projects which are open, so their GitHub codes are there, and also describes the mechanism for adoption of these projects in any country. And this portal has been enabled in all 6 UN languages. It's available in French, Spanish, Russian, Mandarin, Arabic. So all languages are covered. So any country which wants to learn about it can go there. Then second that we are doing is that we have been organizing India Stack orientation conferences. So we did one virtual conference in July last year, which was attended by almost 63 countries. They took part. Then after that, there have been follow-up meetings with various countries, wherein some countries want to adopt DigiLocker, somebody wants to learn more about UPI, somebody wants to learn about Umang, eSanjeevani. So we have one-to-one sessions in which we give orientations to them. And then we are also planning a global summit very soon, most probably in the March, wherein the CIOs of the countries which are interested in will come here, they will interact with respective project owners and learn about it for the adoption. It's also a recurrent theme of the Digital Economy Working Group in the G20 meetings. The next one is scheduled in February from 13th in Lucknow, and then we have 3 more coming up in Hyderabad, Pune and Bangalore. In all these meetings also, the digital public goods will be showcased, examples will be given, and MOUs or mechanism for adoption of the replication of these projects or customization in other countries will be worked out.
Now, India is also setting up a Global South Center of Excellence.
Yes.
Maybe they can also form part of...
the Global South Center of Excellence will also showcase these products at one place, so that if there is a delegation, if there is any country which wants to come and learn about it without spending too much of time going around multiple project offices which are implementing these projects, they can come to one place. So the indiastack.global will be the virtual space where they go to see these places, and the Center for Excellence for Global South for digital public goods will be one place where they can learn more about these projects and think of mechanisms for adopting them.
Thank you, gentlemen, for explaining to our viewers so lucidly the past, present and future of digital public goods. The 21st century is turning out to be the digital century, and India has already positioned itself as a leading technology player in the digital age. India's G20 presidency has the potential to play a critical role in stewarding inclusive approaches to digital transformation. If made in India tech products can become the bedrock for digital public goods around the world, it will not only help other countries on their own digital journeys, it will help create a new paradigm of global digital cooperation in the true spirit of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. That is all I have for you in this edition of Diplomatic Dispatch. Till we meet again next week, take care and goodbye.